So have you ever thought about that word apocalypse? You know, the Bible is full of apocalyptic writing, and these days, mostly thanks to films and some books too, we tend to think of the apocalypse as the end of the world. Literally, the world comes to an end. You know the movies and the TV series, don't you? That film 2012, do you remember that one? Wow, that's long gone now. Or War of the Worlds, or The Walking Dead is a current TV series. And people tend to think of these things as the apocalypse. And in some ways they are, but they're not the definition of apocalypse, or truly what this word means. In fact, in the story of Saul, chief persecutor of Christians, he experienced a full apocalypse on the road to Damascus, on Damascus Road. One day, he knew what his life was about. He had hope in a God, in Yahweh. He knew that how to protect his faith and how to protect his God, and he was working for him. He knew where he was heading. He knew what his life was about. Then he met Jesus. He was totally blinded. Everything he knew, everything he had hoped for was gone. All of his trust, all of his pride, all of his ego just mashed up, and the confidence that he had in where he was heading was gone. This was an apocalypse for Paul. It was an apocalyptic moment. It's what the word means. It's interesting that a period of blindness or darkness followed. The Bible's full of imagery of darkness and light. An apocalypse is something that completely changes your view of the world, completely changes your life. It's when things were one way and now they're another. And so currently people are right, we are experiencing an apocalyptic moment as a nation, as a people group, as the world. And we've got to acknowledge this, haven't we? Things have changed. I was thinking about Christmas this year, and people are so desperate to get back to normal. And to be honest, I was a bit welled up thinking about Christmas. Yes, I'm sad that I'm possibly not going to be able to have it with my family and friends in the usual way we like to do this. We're probably going to be on our own as a family. But actually the isolation that some others are going to feel will be so intense, and it's really breaking my heart. And it feels a little bit like we are currently hit with this blindness period, that something's happened and now we're fumbling around in the dark, trying to figure it out. We're walking down the road and bang, our plans have gone. Bang, our security's gone. Our hope in employment, in holidays, in parties, in sports, in entertainment, you name it, it's gone. It's the end of the world, isn't it? It's gone. Maybe not like in the films, maybe not like we thought it was going to be, but there's a desperation here to get back to normal, but no plan on how to do it. Things have changed. So what are you going to do? Maybe your moment of darkness is for a completely different reason, but you feel shrouded in darkness. You're in the shadows have fallen. So what do you do? Where do you turn when there's nothing left? Now, if I was to say to you, well, you just remember. It almost seems too simple, doesn't it? But you know, in modern day therapy, there's a really popular technique, and one that I've adopted in my life. And it starts with a process of slowing down, of breathing in for 5 seconds. You know, count to 5 as you breathe in, and then count to 5 as you breathe out. And you repeat this a few times until you feel your heart rate is down. And continuing to do this, you will start to recall in detail a happy time, a good memory, like a really good memory. So if when I'm anxious and when I'm feeling low, I do this, and I often do it with my kids as well before bedtime. We like to slow it down. We do the breaths, and then we remember. I love hearing what my kids want to remember. But for me, I go over things in my mind, like this particular one memory when I took Sally J, my daughter, for a walk when she was just really a toddler, 2 or 3, and she was in my backpack, and just me and her and my dog in the bush. We were hiking. And I remember that time, and I remember the time in detail. I even remember a tree that I sat under and read during that time with her asleep. I recall it. I recall the smells and the sights and the sounds and the feelings. You know, I like to go over my time with a huge dinner we used to have with my Malawian family. We used to have a big house at 12. Or the walks that we take here on the Northumberland coastline. I think about those feelings, those faces, the touch, the smell, the sights. We remember. And you know, that is just a popular therapy technique. And it's good, it'll make you feel better, it will help. But as Christians, we can go one step further. When darkness falls upon us, when we are shrouded in shadows, we call to mind what the Lord has done for us. There's literally hundreds. I tried to count it earlier, it's almost impossible. Hundreds of examples of scripture where they say Remember, recall to mind what the Lord has done. Particularly throughout the Old Testament, to recall when you were saved, when you were brought out of slavery. And in the light of Jesus, recall how you were saved from the pit. Remember what the Lord has done. Such is the temptation to spend time focusing on the cause of our anxiety, on the difficult circumstances we have in front of us. Such is the temptation to spend time in the darkness looking at those things, because they're all we can sometimes see, that we might forget to remember. So listen, when the darkness falls on us, we don't need to fear failure. We don't need to fear fear itself, because when the darkness falls on us, we remember. Life is full of darkness, it's full of light, it's full of joy, it's full of sorrow. And so in the moments, do not fear, but remember, he has got you in his hands. And if you're going to allow some darkness to fall upon you, if you're going to choose the darkness, then there is a shadow that you can choose to kneel in. And that is the shadow of the cross, because this is the ultimate act of remembrance that we can do. And we can share in this, and this is why we do communion. We remember what Jesus did for us, and that it all hangs on that cross. And that the difficulty we see around us, whether that's us messing up or whether that's just horrific circumstances around the world, well, it's dealt with there on the cross, and we recall that to mind. We will not fear. We will remember. And the shadow we will kneel in is the shadow of the cross.